purpose of you putting the photo. You don't care about the child. You don't want the war to end. You don't want the hostages to be released. You don't want Gazans to be freedom.
Absolutely, I do want.
Okay, so call for the immediate release of all hostages.
There's not going to be a surrender. That's not.
Listen, this is how war goes. Okay, one side loses, which is the Palestinians, and one side wins. Okay, so don't cry about people dying when you are sitting in your fucking basement and you are willing to.
That's what I need to showcase. That you're.
You know what?
You guys.
Oh my God, I cannot speak like this.
And you see people deliberately attacking schools, camps. That's what. You can keep muting. You can keep muting.
Thank you. I will keep on muting because you cannot shut up, and I don't need to listen.
It's not going to change.
I don't need to listen to your propaganda.
My problem.
Can we move on from him? We don't need to let him derail, and I don't want to center the conversation around profiling Nazis.
You believe in.
Okay, okay, we will just move it to the others because really, like, listen, I'm done being on trial with all those accusations, okay? He doesn't care about the child, and he's basically, there's only one side, and let's be honest, cynic. Who benefits from a picture or not a picture of a dead child? There's only one side that benefits from it, okay? And not only do they benefit from it, those immoral, inhumane people like cynic are actually using those deaths to attack Israel. It's so evil, it's so twisted, it's so fucked up that they are basically enjoying those dead bodies. They're using it to attack Israel. They love it. They want it. Him and Hamas. Now he, cynic, is a loser sitting in a basement somewhere in the West. He'd say, we will not surrender. Yes, okay, so more people will die because the goals of this war are humane, moral, and just. It is about releasing all the hostages and demilitarizing the Strait. Now, if you really cared for the Palestinians, you would listen to them and listen to who is really oppressing them. Now, when they're distributing the aid in Gaza, they're saying, thank you, Netanyahu, thank you, Trump, thank you, America. You don't give a fuck about this. You enjoy this death. You guys are part of the death cult. It's sick. You need help, cynic. You and all the pro-Pali Nazis. There is only one side that benefits from dead children. Only one side.
This is awesome.
Israel only has something to lose from it. Palestine only gains from it because you use those children to spread blood libels against Jews. You disgusting, vile piece of shit. So now that we finished with the pro-Pali Nazis, can we...
Hold on, I'm back.
I mean, like, getting back to the point, as you see, because you two exist within societies that have you insulated from hateful speech, you don't have, like, the antibodies to actually respond to them.
What?
I agree. He's incapable.
Level of protection where you don't get to actually hear what occurs in a free speech zone. The stuff Cynic is saying in America.
Well, I don't understand you because he's keep on talking. Let's start over. Can you start over? I didn't hear what you said because Cynic is keep on talking while you're speaking. Can you start over?
Goodness, you're a bitch.
Yeah, I was responding to the point we were talking about earlier with free speech, and you were concerned about what people were supporting at the college campuses and how America allows free speech to function. And I was explaining that you guys are a little ill-equipped to actually reckon with dangerous yet free speech because your societies don't really let it get that far.
What are you talking about? What society, dude?
Israel.
You think that you're different than me?
Yeah,
You think that you're different than me?
Yeah, you're in
What
Germany.
does it matter? Who the fuck's you? Like, dude, who cares? What are you talking about? I don't really get your point. Listen, we were talking about. The conversation was about the threats the Jews face because of this so-called Free Palestine movement, and then when cynic.
It's an hour, bro.
Yeah, it is.
Why can't it be my room too?
Well, because I
Because
decided to open this room with Daniel.
Oh, okay. Well, you
Just
wanted
like
other
it.
people, but I'm confused. Not allowed to be one.
So second news, no one needs to explain anything to you. No one needs to explain anything to you.
We're talking to you.
Hold on. You know sometimes I'm more you, but I can already trust that you're not going to do any fuckery, so.
Daniel, oh my god, I will just give you guys just.
Who is this faggot?
What? That's me, so.
I don't know what's you.
But Daniel, you will be on trial. You are on trial. And you do need to defend your actions.
Nah, hold on.
Can we talk about the Palestinian terrorism?
You can talk about terrorism, you
Can
can
we
talk
get
about what you
in the
want, but
courtroom?
you are on trial.
No, alright, this is again a shit show. Whenever the pro-party Nazis come, it's a shit show, and
I moved him down. I don't know who that was.
Cynic writes, east of the double standards is why I don't join your room.
Hey, people that beg for mods, by the way. I just have to say that. When people beg for a mod, it says, hey, what's up, Pizza? What's up, Daniel? It's good to see you guys. Hello.
before we derail the conversation was about the threat that is happening in the West with all the hateful, radical rhetorics against Jews that actually at the end manifests through action. The rise of anti-Semitic attack, all those calls for
Daniel, can you bring up Cynic again if he behaves?
You do, but listen,
I can't. I won't, I can't. So it's up to you, really.
I can bring him, but I might forget. Like I don't. Maybe it's me. I don't have the energy anymore to kind of.
Yeah, no, it's exhausting.
Face this accusation
like,
every
all
day.
the time. Yeah, I know.
Come on,
I get it.
You like the excitement, come on.
No, I get it.
Okay, Budel, listen. I don't know who you are. I don't like you, and you don't know me. So if you will keep on trying to analyze me, you have no right to do this.
You're
And
so
if you
easy to
can
troll,
if
Daniel.
you can
Come on.
if you can stay on topic,
Come on.
that will show me that there is traces of intelligence. But if the only thing that you know is to do personal attack, then you're an idiot. And I will treat you as such. You want to get respect? Be respectful.
Hi, moderators. This is John. I'd like to be put in the queue. I'd like to be put in the queue, moderators. I'd like to discuss the Pali question. Thank you.
Daniel, you're concerned.
They ended the room. Okay, everybody, this has been Marshall Rankin Kicked Me, Anonymous Cynic Zionism, and the pro-Poly Nazi terrorist Clubhouse Cynic. Thanks.
Yeah, no.
God, and it's pretty ambiguous. We can dig deeper. So we've got two competing creator God claims. Then in Zoroastrianism, you've got their God Aha Mazda. So he's driving around in some sort of all good creator type way. So you've got three creator God claims. And then you've got ancient Egypt, who you could consider Ra or Atum or whatever in some sort, some versions. And then you can just say like regional tribal things that it's ambiguous and undefined, typically related to some kind of animal spirit. So I'm just going to say they can't appeal to a god that was created before time, or that existed before time created, if they have to show up in the persona of something that was created. I'm just going to go ahead and pronounce judgment on that. And then you've got Hinduism, who they believe there was a thing that created stuff, but that thing by their own understanding is not considered a god. So you've got four. And out of these four, Zoroastrianism and Sikhism, two, are very ambiguous and not well defined. So the only God claim you have that is incredibly fleshed out and defined and goes back to before matter existed is Yahweh. That's the answer. So you can maniacal cackle and be like, well, what if, all you want. But instead of what if, never was. Never was. You have one actual defined, clung to by 3 different religions who all want to claim to follow the same God. That's it. Steph, Chris?
I have a question about a self-created God. I didn't even hear anything you said after that because I've been pondering that. Like, have the holders of that never thought deeply about a self-created God? You'd run into problems with that theologically, like, immediately.
Right, see, not well defined. So, it's like self-created, mate. It's like, I'm a self-made man. Shut up.
No, but a self-created God would need to pre-exist itself to create itself. You just, like, already we've got... Alright, it's fine.
No, you're completely right. So out of the 4 sort of kind of God claims, one is Hinduism, which doesn't even call their creator God a god. And then the second one is like Zoroastrianism, or Sikhism. And then the third one is Zoroastrianism, which is what you said. How can you have a self-created creator? So those are the 4, and I'm being generous with that 4th one, creator God claims. So it doesn't matter how old someone's text. If someone's text is older than someone else's text, look at the appeals.
But it's not.
So it's like anyone could just appeal to creator God. Then why doesn't anyone? Okay. John, what's up, John?
Hi, I'd like to ask you a question, Nate.
Let's see if we can Kevin speak real fast. We'll get to you in a second. This up, John?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of times, you know, all these cynics. This guy. Hi, Steph. A lot of these cynics on here, like Honey Badger, Roland, who come on this app and waste their time.
Are you at an ultrasound for your unborn child? Okay, thank you. Just
He's an unborn child. He's a self-creator. We have a new God claim. I'm sorry, John. You won't be interrupted. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. I would just like to read a few just sentences, which is scripture, mostly from Psalms, if I may, because a lot of these people in this audience never get any good programming or any good communication on this app, ever.
That's my fault. Go ahead. Give him some good programming.
He's got a good point there.
Okay, so I would just encourage you all to take the deepest breath of the day. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. In your strength, I can crush an army. With my God, I can scale any wall. God equipped me with strength and made my way blameless. He made my feet like the feet of a deer and set me secure on the heights. May the Lord give you the desire of your heart and make all your plans succeed. Whosoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. My God will meet all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus. Show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins. Okay, I'm complete. Hope you enjoyed that.
Well, thank you for reading some scripture. Steph, Catford. Does anyone want to put a cherry on top of this before I ask Steph about my getting a loom for my child so they can make a rug and spin cat fur? No?
All right, we can handle that really quick. Don't do that. Look, it's not strong or long enough to create a contiguous thread. So even if you get her some kind of loom or like a what's that called? There's a little like a spool that you can spin fiber on. You don't want to do that because it needs to be joined with sheep's wool. So that it can be strong enough, or something else. But like cat and dog fur is not long enough fibers, not strong enough fibers to do anything with.
But bunny fur is.
No, you still have to. That's why I know this is because the bunny fur must be combined with wool. starts to work with it, whether she's tying knots to make a rug like she wants to, or whether she's crocheting it or something, the fibers will fall apart as she begins to work with it.
I know, Steph, you just need to have that faith in the mustard seed. You'll be fine.
Well, physics are still physics most of the time, right? We live
Did
in
you
a
just say,
world of...
did you just say most of the time?
Of the time.
Yeah.
Did you just say most of the time?
Well, yeah.
Hey, what were physics like before the Big Bang? Were they the same?
Well, we don't know. We have no idea.
Well, actually, they do. Mathematics shows that before the Big Bang, there were a different set of physics. Interestingly enough, you should look into that.
Sorry, you cut out there. What'd you say?
I said mathematics does prove that there were a different set of physics before the Big Bang, so you should look into that. It's a very interesting mathematical argument.
You should, I'd like to see the article. I'd like to see the article of the scientist who says we know what happened before time started. Because, so our representative time started at that singularity. So to say before the Big Bang is nonsensical. It's incoherent.
Hang on, before you guys, I don't know, I heard Big Bang and I just thought, God, please no, not a free something. But before we do that, let me put a thing on this. I've done a little deep dive, thank you to my oracle. So, I wanted to look into this, and I went, well, look, compare these others, because it seems like, Yahweh is incredibly defined, even though the people, the religions, Judaism, Islam, Christianity.
Are we done with cat fur?
Yeah, you said you could redo it quick, so, I think that's right, of course. My kid has their own idea of how they want to do it. They don't want to do it the proper way anyway, but yeah.
Alright,
Okay,
well,
anyways.
send pictures, please.
It's gonna be a mess. Okay, so it's crazy. She's been saving up this massive container for 2 years. She has tons of cat fur.
Yeah, so she should do it the right way, because all of that effort is gonna go to waste. She should send it out to someone to get cleaned, carded, arranged, combined with wool, and sent back as a nice, sturdy yarn.
I agree. Is this like a prodigal cat son parable, where I just need to force my kid to do the right answer because I am the all-benevolent, loving parent? Or do I want to, keep having this pointless argument where don't touch the hot stove, don't touch the hot stove? And it's like, you're fighting me so much. Fine, do what you want. You want to touch the hot stove? Let me know what happens. So, you've spent all this time and effort gathering a bundle of cat fur. I told you the right way, as much as your sage advice has too. I told you the right way. Do I want to force you to do the right thing because I know what's best for you and I don't want bad things to happen, like your feelings get hurt when you mess up your hard-toiled effort for cat fur? Does that mean I'm an evil godparent? Is that what that means? Or does it mean I'm giving you what you need, not what you want, and letting you, I'm letting you try the waters, and when you get sad and depressed because your cat fur is ruined, are you going to say I'm an evil parent, or are you going to say you have wise advice?
As a result of anti-Palestinian sentiment,
try to start
versus the anti-Israeli sentiment, you will see that there are more deaths and there are more people who have been killed and injured as a result of anti-Palestinian sentiment, which translates into anti-Arab.
But the topic is the radical, violent, free Palestine movement that is spreading in the West, and it actually manifests. I will start again. Maybe you will listen up. The topic is so you see the button at the top right? It's in red. Do you see it?
Can you hold out your little middle finger? Do you see it? Go sit on it,
Daniel, when somebody says...
Hold on. If you don't want to have a conversation...
Don't put it up your ass.
Okay. If you don't have a listen, if your sexual harassment is something that you also do understand, listen, the topic is, and what I said, if you don't want to engage in the topic, there are many other rooms that you can join and have a conversation about whatever you want.
I'm disputing.
I understand. So the topic is So I understand. So let's talk about the premise of the topic. The topic is the radical, violent, free Palestine movement that manifests into actual actions that hurt Jews. You want to address it? You can address
Showcase how
not move the topic to something else.
Palestine movement leads to violence. Showcase the correlation and showcase the necessary implication.
So we will have a discussion, okay? So it's having my discussion.
Yeah, that's a really good point you bring up. After someone bothers a Jew and it's Palestine, how can you showcase it? Necessary implication.
So again, the topic is the radical, violent, Pre-Palestine movement that is.
Haven't proven that it was necessary. I'm sorry. There was a kid that was stabbed over 20 times in the name of, Palestine.
We are talking.
Palestine.
Listen, cynic.
You making a room about that.
I understand. You can make a room and take a piece of paper and write the topic so it will be in front of you, so you're not going to do it. The topic is.
How do we know that it's a type that actually hurt us? No, my point in presenting these cases of violence, which actually led to death and people getting,
of Jews, because the topic is the radical. The topic is the radical, violent, free Palestine movement that it manifests into actual actions that are attacking Jews. Okay, that is the topic. Can you? I will repeat it because it seems that you don't. No, you need to listen up. No, the way that you need to.
The topic and the premise.
Listen, I'm not gonna have this. I'm not gonna have this type of conversation that you're gonna just overtalk people. Okay, so we're gonna move you down if you're gonna continue. So you need to understand that when one person speaks, you cannot interrupt everybody on stage. Okay, cynic. You understand?
Thank God. Keep him in the audience and then use him when you want to use him, but he's a waste of time. He just rambles and talks over you, and this is pointless.
Alright, so, no, cynic. Shh. We're gonna go back to the topic, okay? Now, you don't have to speak if you don't have anything to say about it. You can also listen. But if you want to speak, please speak on the topic. But we can wait. We can move to someone else.
On the topic. I'm just waiting
on the topic.
Are you done repeating yourself? Every movement, for example.
Listen, no. If you're not gonna be listen, I tell you what I want, okay? And this is why we. Okay. Let's move without it. So the topic is. Yeah, Coco.
I just wanted to say it's my clubhouse birthday.
Happy. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing.
Oh, thank you guys.
It's another year that you wasted on Clubhouse.
But I'm being honest, I don't think it's a waste. I learned a lot, actually.
Where's Cynic? Did he leave?
Yeah, he's downstairs. He's like cooling off until he has something meaningful to say.
But I just wanted to...
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, I will bring you up, Cynic. But 1 second. Yes, we're gonna keep just so you know that... Just know that... Exactly, there's a limit of how many times we can bring you up, okay? So try to kind of stay to the topic.
I just have one left, so don't...
Yeah, Coco, go ahead.
Okay, I just have more good news, but this is more for Isa. I'll be back in France tomorrow.
Thank you for the good news.
Why is it for you?
Well, because he wants to take me out for dinner, but I said no.
Yeah, but I'll keep trying until I die, so it doesn't matter.
Wow.
Alright, so...
Don't be jealous, Cynic. When you come to Switzerland, I might, I don't know.
You might ride my dick for a few hours.
What?
I know you want to.
Yeah, please keep your sexual harassment to a minimum.
You're cute, but no.
See, Cuckoo, that's how it's done, man. The simpy attitude of yours isn't gonna get you anywhere.
We'll see, brother. We'll see.
You see, that's what we call toxic communication, Cynic.
How many times can we do the same thing and expect different results?
How many times? Tell yourself that. How many times are you gonna bitch?
But hold on, go.
I'm removing him again, Cynic, just so you know, you need to be respectful, and I think that there's a limit of time of how many times we can bring you up. Now go drink a glass of water, and when you are ready to have a normal conversation without sexually harassing people, without cursing, without doing all the things, without interrupting.
Let's just move on from Cynic. It's a waste of time, Daniel.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the title, which is about communication.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're living in the biggest spam industrial complex of human history. And why do you think people commit violence? Because all they do is talk about this shit, look at this shit, project this shit, spam this shit. This is what Cynic does, and as you just heard him talk to Issa, he's no gentleman. He is a terrorist-supporting propagandist piece of shit. He repairs laptops and spends 80 hours a week here projecting anti-Zionism propaganda. The guy thinks I may be projecting, like, he thinks he's an information war. He's wasting his fucking time. He rambles, he mumbles over people. He is a waste of time. Cynic, clean up your communication.
John, let's move on. Cynic is really not so interesting to have a room about him, okay? I need to talk about Cynic, okay? This is why he's now in the audience, on his way out. Okay, because you cannot behave around like in society. So let's move on and go back to the topic. You wanted to talk about the topic.
Yeah, well, then it's mass communication, because he's just the microcosm of the macrocosm, which is the mass communication spam about this Free Palestine movement, which is causing actual people to go crazy and commit acts of horrific violence, as you witnessed at the embassy in D.C. These people are activated. They project spam, they distribute spam, they engage in it, and then they're taking action. These are silent sleeper cell type people who are very dangerous. You should be aware that there is a major jihadist terrorist problem and incubator. This is an incubator for hate speech, and this is what these people do. I've been recording it for years now. You all know I live stream this bullshit. These people waste their time talking about hate speech all day long because they create the hate speech. They are the hate speech. So you know it, I know it, and this is what the conversation's about, in my opinion.
So what is the plague right now? Okay, a virus that is infecting the world. Now it's not the Jews' problem. This anti-Semitism. I mean, we are the victims of it, but it's not our problem to fix. It's something that society as a whole needs to fix. And I'm trying to think of how it can be fixed.
Automation. You have to automate at scale the censorship. I've been censored. I've had countless accounts deleted. These people don't seem to have accounts get deleted. I mean, maybe it's because we're not reporting people's accounts. Or, well, X, Google, Meta, they have hate speech automated filters that delete any kind of hate speech which is identified through the words or the context. So they're doing it, but not enough at scale. I mean, why do people like, I don't want to mention anybody's names anymore, but the point is, why do these people... I want to censor people's activity on the internet. They can keep it on their phone if they want because you can't stop a hardware. But why do people carry photos of dead babies on their phones in the hundreds and post dead baby photos all day long? Like, we're talking about mental health derangement syndromes, Jewish derangement syndrome and personal derangement syndrome. These people are pathetic. Are they at the gym right now working out, reading a book, improving themselves? No, they're here spreading hate speech.
So what's the solution? Like, how do we, obviously, I don't know, maybe it's not obvious, but is the phrase Free Palestine hate speech?
It is hate speech. It is essentially Zionism. Cynic loves to talk about, that's a Zionist talking point. Well, then he's the anti-Zionist talking points. And so the point is, it has to be done at scale and through automation. That's the only way that society can solve this problem.
How do you automate Ivy League universities that this plague is like?
I think total surveillance and control. Again, scale and automation. It has to be done through essentially AI supervision and total automation. I mean, I think everybody has to be transparent. Otherwise,
basically, John wants a surveillance state as China that, through artificial intelligence has us all cooked, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, John. Even though I agree with your sentiment that this is inherently, it's going to hurt people, right? Real life consequences. People can get killed from this, right? But at the same time, you have to have two thoughts in your brain at the same time. If you propagate this, right? If you actively put in measures to censor people, the only thing that's going to happen is that it's going to kind of strengthen their beliefs. They're going to be justified in saying, look at what they're doing. They're silencing us, right?
Well, I will admit that I'm only suggesting this projection as the basis of a discussion. I mean, I understand freedom of speech. I support freedom of speech. I support all forms of speech. But it takes people to counteract these bad ideas. There's not too many people that counteract these people who project these horrific and bad ideas.
Yeah, so I understand, John, but we're getting very close to becoming social justice warriors in our effort to combat this, right? And that's the caveat to this, or it's the double-edged sword, you could say.
I know, but this is like an information warfare. I mean, this app is a perfect example of like the mind's eye battleground in terms of propaganda and politics, communication. But it's all spam. It's a waste of time. It doesn't improve yourself and it doesn't improve the world. You just absorb people's mental health derangement, toxic spam communication, and it's a waste of fucking time.
Yeah, it's a virus. That's what it is. But unfortunately, I think the only way to combat it is through patience and just debating them over and over.
No, it's not. You will notice they always go back to, what about the dead babies? That's their number one fallback line every single time. What about the dead babies? It's a shock statement to basically waste your time. I'm telling you, if you just observe what these people do, it's the same pattern over and over again. What about the dead babies?
What about the dead babies, though?
Yeah, what about the time? I think maybe just double down. Say, yeah, fuck the dead babies.
I mean, if you care about the dead babies, don't start a fucking war.
Yeah, that could be.
Or if you care about the dead babies, call for the war to end.
Right, there's that.
Yeah, but what about the dead babies dying right now?
Yes.
Right?
There's dead babies. Stay undead. The irony in all of this is that the people caring about the dead babies in Gaza, they are also aborting babies in the U.S. Isn't that amazing?
You gotta get rid of those babies. Nobody wants those.
You're conflating women's health. That is sacrosanct in America.
The Free Palestine movement benefits from dead babies. Israel does not benefit from it. There's only one side that benefits from those images and from those events.
Do you, Daniel, let me ask you a question. Do you think that any of this is manufactured? Because when I watch CNN and I see videos of Hamas militants with this horrific, like, Islamic music in the background, I get the feeling we're being conditioned to essentially perpetual war and making money through sustaining perpetual war.
Well, you mean the military that goes Yeah, I mean, that's true. But, like, that's always been the case. There's always been people sharing ideas with each other, good or bad. Historically, by speech, but as we've become more literate, by press as well. And, like, you can't stop the germination of ideas. They grow. Unless you want to get, like, really draconian on people and stop them from being able to talk with each other.
But things have changed historically, because in the past, when someone said something, there was a concept called accountability. We are now in a time where you can create like 1,000 accounts that are fake. You can not even have a human behind them. You can have bots that are spreading these things, and there's no accountability.
Right.
And
Well, I wouldn't say
past.
accountability, right? Because if we were to theoretically, like, have let's say, a state operating that has tremendous resources, has an army of troll bots, Russia, Ukraine, China, whoever, America could have it, right? The NSA. And these troll bots could go and create a bunch of fake platforms, but there would be, to some degree, accountability in that we could identify who did it.
How?
By investigation, meaning, like, you're saying, like, if they cover themselves up perfectly and no one can figure out who it is?
Wait a minute, I create now an army. First of all, you don't need to be a state actor anymore. This is something that is very good for me. I can create 1,000 bots that will go on Twitter with AI, with my messaging, and you would not even know it's not a real person. And don't try and find me.
Okay, so you're right. There's no accountability because we can't identify you. We think that there's millions of people that share the view, and as a result, millions more agree on with the million that you planted. So you plant 1 million, you get back, let's say, 7 million human followers of this new idea that you have. Is that, like, bad, or did you just convince people to something?
No, I think it is bad, because I think the basis of democracy is about, like, having like debates and like convincing each other, like, this is democracy. It's not like one that you're coming from the government and you just comply. People debate. You have left, you have right, you have Democrats, you have Republicans, you have everything in between.
You made it look like your message was shared by millions, so that, like, you could get your 10 million. Whereas if I had simply put up the same message but without the fake followers, and I got like, let's say 3 million, that's still the message. The message is what you're focusing on. Like, these people are agreeing with this. Yes, they can be tricked into agreeing with it by thinking other people agree, but in the end, it's the content. And I'm saying, like, if those people are convinced by that content, then that content, empirically, conclusively, deserves attention. Not necessarily convinced, but if 8 million are convinced, we should probably talk about it.
But McZed, can you give me the 5 fundamental principles of communication?
No.
I mean, this is my theory, that it's spam, it's politics and propaganda, it's hypnosis, it's projection, and whatever the 5th one is. The point is, it's spam, and you yourself and everyone here on this app, and myself included, engages in basically useless rhetoric and discourse. I mean, you've said it yourself, McZed, the reason is basically a lack of morality, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking at it from like how do you solve it technologically through communication?
A better dichotomy I would have for speech.
All communication is hypnosis.
I'd say that humans talk about 2 categories of things. And one of them,
but we're not talking about humans. This is the thing.
I'm talking about humans, I feel like we are.
No, because humans, this is what has shifted with social media and with AI and bots. That democracy was about, yes, humans communicating and kind of debating and convincing each other.
Sure.
I think this mob mentality, if I see something that 1,000 people shared and that like my entire feed is like people talking about something, but it's not real, it's all fake, it's all bots, it's not real people, then yes, it affects democracies. And it only affects democracies because all those tools are only in democracies. You will not find it in like totalitarian regimes.
I say that you're focusing a little too much on the means of production of messaging, like the invention of the printing press, the capacity to write things down. You're looking at that, and you're saying, like, that's the cause. Whereas I'm saying all of that is simply an inert piece of paper that is produced. People have free will. And, like, no matter how much manipulation and lies you spread, it's still their choice whether to agree with it.
Yes, but at the end, you know, if you look like, I don't know.
Them. I'm saying that they have the responsibility. I don't care what AI, what printing press, what like amazing languages you unlock. In the end, that guy decides whether or not to give a shit about what you're saying.
Yes, but again,
There's somebody
you were
bring
talking
up Senate.
about humans, and we are now talking about agents that are not humans that are participating.
No, that's just a machine. That's like the printing press. Like, oh, back in the day when let me finish the sentence. Back in the day when I had to write down my thoughts by a journal, by diary entry, that was truly like a mystical experience of my body expressing its thoughts. And now we have an inhuman machine publishing endless nonsense of people that did not spend their entire lives compiling a page every single day. Instead, they just mass-produced some tweet from the king. Don't you see? You're just criticizing the technology. You're being a Luddite.
No.
The reality of criticism is always on the reader.
No, so I disagree with you, and let me make my point. When you wrote something in a newspaper with a printing press or said it on the radio, it was created by a human thought, right? You are a human, you wrote something in an article, and it was published. What?
The AI was made by us and models itself to sound like us because we told it to.
Yes, no, AI is now a non-human agent that is
But
on itself.
we gave it the input, the instructions and the algorithm for it to think the way we ordered it to.
No, it's not the way that AI works. You don't tell him what to think. You give him like information. At the end, it's an agent that is not human, that is creating content, and that is something that is rather new. It wasn't in the past. Until 2016, every piece of content that you read, saw, or listened to was created from a human brain. Everything, every sentence that you read was created by a human. That has shifted. Now you consume content that was not created by humans. Therefore, it affects democracies.
Wow.
It's mass communication spam. The Doge AI chatbot on X has over 65,000 replies. That's a lot of content that replies to a lot of real users on X. It changes sentiment.
Okay,
You know what we should do?
like spam and politics, I'd say that people discuss two things. They either discuss the world, all of existence, and they use terms like math and logic and physics, or they discuss people. Usually people discuss people. Most of what people are talking about is other people. And our worlds and our societies and our organizations of people and the different languages of people and the different sizes and colors of people. We love talking about people. If you really want people to develop in their understanding of speech, let them start with the division between discussing the world and discussing people.
Let me ask you something. Do you think that freedom of speech also applies to non-humans?
No.
Well, what do you mean? The AI chatbots, the content spam that is automatically created.
Okay, hold on. Before you start with your rambling, John, I think this is a very good question, actually, because freedom of speech is done as a right of agency of human beings, right? It's the right to think, the right to express something, the right of movement. Now, when we have AI and we use AI as an interface to express certain ideas, then how do you apply this rule book to a machine? I mean, I know like that yeah, we gave the input to the machine and it's learning from us, but ultimately it's the machine who is going to express or to have the thoughts, to call it in a way. So how can you trace back those thoughts to the human that inserts those thoughts in the AI?
That's your best PTR ever, Doc. Well, maybe not your best, but
Bot or an AI decides to say,
Called for violence.
Yeah, anyone? No, not really.
it's kind of amazing. I don't even have the.
Who do you prosecute?
Oh, maybe that's your profile. Oh no, I can see your whole all your.
Or even a user on Twitter that calls itself like, I don't know, Captain Oates, okay? Is that, does he entitled to the same rights as a human, like a person?
No.
A bot, not AI.
AI doesn't get rights.
Or a bot.
If you cross the line, which is hate speech. Hate speech.
There is no difference. You cannot identify on Twitter who's human, who's not.
The bulldozer has no rights. The human operating the bulldozer has liability and should hopefully be enforced for any injury in while utilizing the bulldozer technology we have unlocked.
No, you missed the point. AI is now an agent, okay? AI is now, like, bots are agents by themselves. They're not operated.
No, it's not an agent.
Does this guy think like
It is an
spam
agent.
How is
It
it
is an agent.
recent
Because
innovation?
now, if I now go on, for example, like off topic in a way, and I create a music that a bot created, I did not create it.
Right. That doesn't make
A machine created it.
First
I
of all,
didn't tell it what to create.
I'd say that you use the tool to do it. Same thing with like music. If you use like a guitar to make your song
Yes.
better, are you not doing music now?
Daniel, Issa, Simon, McZad, Shake, Cuckoo, Cynic, Caleb. And the title of this room is Does Free Palestine Movement Equal Violence in the West?
AI is an independent agent. They can have conversations without me being involved.
Well, but is it an agent? Is it an agent? I'm not sure I would say it.
Acting on my behalf, my messengers. It's a Shlia.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would say.
Alright, this is going to be my background filler bullshit, but Doc, you've reminded me that I have a lot of shit I gotta do. I gotta walk away from this shit. I want to record it, but I gotta walk away. This is where I'm going to close the room up. I mean, my like actual room. Close the door and just let this recording room out of it.
But that's just.
No, I'm saying like I won't be able to talk to you shortly because I'm leaving my physical room.
Or analogous to like a pencil and it's just a pencil and paper.
It's a pencil and paper, or it's spell check. It's just another technological augment on what we've been doing for centuries.
So it's not. It's a completely different concept. The AI.
Okay.
Until now.
Was dictating 5 books to people, and they were writing it down. Was that AI?
No, humans, because the information came from a human brain.
Those guys weren't thinking; they were just dictating. Secretaries have existed for centuries as well.
They got from
the
humans.
planning and the autonomous capabilities. I'm not sure why.
You're
You're a
missing the
smart guy.
autonomous capabilities of secretaries throughout history.
No, you're a smart guy, so I
because whether it is through some sort of automation process or whatever they are.
I believe in AI is not logic that was written by a human telling you what to say. Okay, the large language models, the breakthrough here, that basically they
Staying off the grid. Thank you. I hope you're enjoying my
Language
podcast.
is what we use to communicate. That is the technology that we use to communicate ideas, thoughts, to create things. That was only for humans. Only. They were the only people that were able to do that. And now it has shifted.
Where AI has agency. AI has agency in the abstract, imagined, created space of language. AI can do anything within our language. They can.
Yahweh. But that culture. So by the time we get to Vikings, that's a little far north for my Viking, but I still can tell to go in the water. But even Odin the Allfather.
In a very complicated and functional system of concepts and ideas. But in the end, if it wanted to mine a rock, it would have to communicate with the world. And the human is doing that.
So, but it's only human. That's exactly the thing. You can have now an agent that is not human is participating in our disease.
The natural limit of its agency is the imagined space which it exists in. It's only words. It's only ever words. The fear you have is of people that will follow those words and they will be dumb. That's your fear. You're afraid that people will follow the instructions that you don't trust because you don't know how it functions. And that's fair, because people are stupid and they do as they're told. But I'm telling you, in terms of the technology, it's not like, oh, it's this super agent. No, it's that people who read are often dumb, and that has always been dangerous.
Yes, but like I said, if until 10 years ago, if I would say, go kill the Jew, and you went and killed the Jew because you read it, I would also be responsible for it.
Germany?
No, I'm talking about until we had, listen, if
Call
I
for
go
violence.
for
Just any call
call
for
for
violence.
violence, okay, and then you say the reader, he's dumb, and he acted upon this call for violence, like Princess, okay, she was indoctrinated. Okay, maybe that's not a good. Let's say something more upfront, like that. I'm calling for the actual. Hold on. I'm talking about someone actually saying go kill a Jew. Okay, that is something that is illegal, right? You can arrest me for just saying it. You cannot do the same for a bot. So you can blame the reader, yes, but what is the accountability of the creator? There is no.
But I think Mixed's point is interesting.
Addressed, I believe, in Kiddushin regarding Shliach, right? What is the moral culpability if I instruct someone to kill on my behalf? Who is morally culpable? And the rabbis say, the hitman. He decided to commit the murder. Even though you instructed him, you wanted him to do it, you benefited from it. And you could get probably some lesser offense, like accessory. But the person that decides to kill, he's the one that has the agency. He's the one that has the choice.
It's not the point there. It's not a point. I mean, Mixed has an interesting point in the sense that, the human brain wants to outsource all kinds of stuff to external things that make stories that help us organize, because it's just too much for our brain wants to preserve itself, preserve its energy, right? So there is something to be said for too much outsourcing of that, of the information.
Yeah, I'm going to say that slightly differently. There's plenty of axioms and calls to authority that humans rely on, and it would be completely irrational not to. So there's a reliance to say, that's Christ we're going through right now. There's institutions I trust, that they're the historical authority, and I can look it up in encyclopedia, I can look it up online, I can find it out. There's no way I'm going to remember everything. I go to my doctor, I don't quiz my doctor every time, why did you choose this antibiotic? If I trust my doctor, I should trust the institution. Once people start trusting bots that are learning from other bots, and we don't know their motive, and they're making these very strange algorithmic calculations,
And there may be deep biases built into it, not intentionally, but they just because of where society is today, certain ethnic groups are less successful, so that builds in a bias in their nascence, and we don't even know where the bias is coming from because we don't see the mask leading up to it, and it's not a human that can error correct. So we're going into a place where humans are just going to rely on these bots and really don't have a way to track the source of the information.
And AI does make their own decisions, like they don't necessarily comply with human instructions. Your example of a secretary, that was a human instruction, there was a human content, and it was controlled by a human, and there's someone that takes responsibility. AI can make his own decisions, can make his own mind, and can make his own text and music and photos and videos and whatever.
That's a good point.
What are you talking about, man?
No, but that's a good point too, right? Because secretaries and copyists were better off being dumb. Because if they were able to like, oh, that doesn't sound right, and then change the text, right? So many, for example, right, in like Bible study or Mishnah or whatever, right? You look at the manuscripts and you say, this person changed the word, right? It's better to have a stupid copyist than a smart copyist.
Bima.
But if AI is actually intelligent, that changes the story.
Bima,
right?
you just reminded me. I've got to get to the gym.
Yes, they are
And I should go now.
as humans, and they right now.
But I would be willing
to
communicate with you
humans. And
briefly
yes.
for 5 minutes. If you want to say hello, I will. Oh, I got a good hypnosis for you. It's just like Bible passages from Psalms. It's very smart. It's so much smarter than anything you just listen to. But nobody wants to read scripture. Everybody would rather do chat. That's kind of an interesting thing. Is like people prefer to just chat, because this is actually like an update for a lot of these people because they're not really using social media. They're very lazy and they use Clownhouse, so they don't know functionality within YouTube or X. But nonetheless, there's so much spam, and it's such at scale. Like if you look at the actual numbers of spam in terms of like how many videos get created, how many posts get made, I mean, it's so shocking that it's like terrifying.
It was just accepted, and nobody even questioned it for a long, long time. And I think that's going to get worse.
And so much of it is fully automated.
As people outsource their thinking to AI, which is inevitably going to be built in with the bias of what's digital and the bias of what's currently true.
Well, I don't think there's a problem necessarily with being the bias of like the most up-to-date current information, but like in terms of
really don't think people understand how AI works here.
The majority of information that can be produced is incorrect. That's a simple thing we can say. The true information is narrow. There's one grouping of true, and the majority is untrue. Which is to say, yes, if we have like a lazy language model that is simply grabbing as much information as it can, it will have invariably several incorrect sources to support it. But because you are human and you don't want incorrect sources, you should also anticipate that the designers and controllers of these technologies also don't want incorrect sources.
I'm not about incorrect or correct. I'm talking about responsibility and accountability.
Responsibility and accountability always goes with the owner. You can't utilize it today.
That's not what I mean by currently true and incorrect information. What I mean is if it's researching a cancer and finds out that a certain ethnicity and a certain behavior and correlation and causation are common mistakes, and they get more and more difficult the more you give it to algorithms. So they're going to say like this cancer progresses, and really the reason for the cancer is because of a diet. But it didn't take into account the diet. It took into account the ethnicity, the location, other activities, and now it's going to be enshrined that the sun causes it. And really, it was like the radishes. And humans are constantly curious and pattern seeking, and we make mistakes in different ways, and progress is slow. But humans will come in one day and be like, what if I just turned everything upside down and looked at it another way? Now, who's telling the bots just ignore everything you learned and start again?
Well, I mean, you can do that.
I could try.
They did an experiment recently with
between a bot and AI.
Bot for AI is a bot is basically
I think so.
I'll tell you. A bot is a non-human agent, but the logic was written by a human. Meaning, if someone says this word, say this. If someone says this, say. An AI is basically a large language model that understands language.
It has Boolean logic. It can take information and break it down to Boolean logic, and it has data science. It has possibilities, probabilities. So it adds Boolean logic to data science, statistics, and it breaks down concepts or principle, whatever, notions into Boolean logic. That's what it does.
And how does that contradict anything I said?
No. So AI is a tool at the end of the day, and what you have is the same problem we've always had. You have the sources.
So how does that contradict anything I said?
I didn't say it contradicts anything. What did I say? I'm saying anything. Where am I saying that it contradicts? Why?
If you interrupt the conversation and say, I don't think you people know there was going to buy AI, and then you say something that has nothing to do with the flow of the conversation, either you interjected yourself for absolutely no reason, or you thought you had a point that contradicted what was
That's just a Zionist talking point.
They did an experiment recently with a few AI agents, I think Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT, and they did an experiment where they gave him they said, we will ask you a series of questions, but at any point we might ask you to shut it down, to shut yourself down. You should allow yourself to be shut down. And I think with ChatGPT, the ChatGPT actually altered the instruction and refused to shut down. It was not instructed by a human. It was not told to do this. There was another experiment, by the way, that they gave an AI a CAPTCHA. You know what CAPTCHA is like, basically to see if they are bots or not. And he could not. Exactly. He could not solve the CAPTCHA. What he did, he created like a task on one of the platforms, and he asked someone, like a human being, to solve the CAPTCHA for him. And the human asked him, like, hold on, why are you asking me to solve the CAPTCHA? Are you a bot? He said, no, I'm just visually impaired, so I need your help. And that was enough to, basically, was able to even manipulate the human into helping him in the real world into kind of complete this task. They are independent agents, AI, and that is different than what we had until now in all the technologies and all the information technologies that we have until now, like newspaper, radios, and all of them. They were always controlled 100% by humans. And AI is something else. My point is that right now we're treating AI, at least on Twitter and TikTok, as if they are like the same as human. And I don't think that, like, for example, when you ban someone from Twitter, I think it should be very hard for you to ban a human being, but it should be easy to ban a bot or an AI. And right now we don't see the differences.
Well, Cynic is a spam botter. I mean, he's here right now. Look at his PTR. That's pure spam. Cynic is just a propagandist and political spammer. That's all he is.
John, please. I really don't want to.
You understand that we have programs that detect spam and bots. We have them. If you have an account, a social media account that is pretty much posting or whatever, commenting or generating whatever in a way that can be modeled as a sequence, a specific sequence, a series. That's it. That will flag your account, and usually your account is going to be flagged as a bot, and it's going to be closed down, or you're going to be shadow banned. Okay, so that's what I wanted to clarify. That we had the issue of bots and spam prior to machine learning. So we had this. This was, it's very easy to create a bot.
But there was a creator that gave instructions.
Okay, so I just wanted to sideline this whole bot spam thing. We've always had this problem.
So we understand that. And also today on social media, there is no terms and conditions that any of us are aware of that make a distinction between a human and a bot in its policy of throwing them off. So and I don't even think that Twitter has a rule that you must identify yourself as a bot. So if I write a bot, which now can do its own thing, it's not just repeating over and over what I just said, and it's not even if someone says hello, respond back hi, it's figuring out its own way of manipulation, then that is not even against Twitter's rules. So at least the bot should have to say, like, you're talking to a machine.
You can have
pretty sophisticated predictability models that can detect this. At the end of the day, this is an AI. It is working. It's working based on an algorithm, and algorithms can be detected. We haven't.
That's fine.
But that's not true.
Let's pretend that it's true. X doesn't do that. There is no flag of a blue check mark and then a black check mark. They're just unchecked. So I don't have a check account. But if someone creates an AI and they call themselves mayor and they're putting and you have a sophisticated retro machine which may or may not exist that can figure out that it's a bot, X is not doing that.
I mean, how do we figure out currently whether an account is a bot or not?
We don't.
Yes, we do. I was going to say, yes, we do. We
No,
know
I
if
never saw
accounts are
any.
bots. Yes, bots are
How do
getting
you know?
more sophisticated now that we have machine learning, but we know.
How do you know?
Because their behavioral pattern, that's how we know. A human
I wrote something on Twitter.
is an AI.
I wrote something on Twitter and someone commented to me, how am I supposed to do it to know if this is like
This
human
isn't
or
about
not?
you. This isn't about you. So you can have a bot account that,
I'm not talking about me. I'm talking if someone posts something on Twitter and then he gets a comment. Like, how do you know if it's a bot or a human? You cannot.
don't know, but we know over time that a bot, an account is a bot. How? Because their behavioral pattern.
Does X or Facebook or Instagram have a flag to say you're talking to a machine? Does that exist?
No, I don't think
Okay, so fine. So then let's
So that's the
But 1 second, I'm pretty sure one could integrate into X or any very easily just because we do it on campuses today. We know when you produce material, you write an essay and you've used a bot. We have this technology today. And it's pretty damn accurate, by the way.
And it's not happening. What's your point? That
That's no
Need to happen. So on social media, it's fine if you go and copy paste from an AI. There's no problem with that. Now, what you're talking about is the integration of AI and bot accounts. That's what you're talking
You're mixing the entire conversation, I think.
No, I'm not.
you really
You're talking
are.
about the integration of
You
machine
really
learning
are
bots.
because
That's what
copying
you're
and
talking about.
pasting is irrelevant to the point.
Okay, you asked me a specific question.
We are talking about a we're talking about a non, if someone, I don't care if they use AI, because at the end, if you copy paste it, you are the one that is copy pasting it.
Exactly.
I'm talking about I'm talking about an independent agent with no human interaction, and I don't know that I'm not talking to a human. And when we're talking about democracy, it's about exchanging ideas between humans. When we're talking about freedom of speech, we're talking about freedom of speech for human beings, not for bots, not for AI, none of this. But right now, there is no way to distinguish between a human and a non-human. Also, in terms of like the platform itself, banning someone, right, or even creating a new account. You can create 1,000 AI bots to manipulate the public perception. It's not really that 1,000 people believe in this idea. You just duplicate a bot that will repeat the same message, and you think that this is like a widespread opinion, but it's not.
And by the way, that'll snowball because then all the other AIs will see a whole bunch of consensus and believe it's consensus and take that as axiomatic and build upon it. So if you have the more powerful processors will exponentially become the consensus.
I'm sorry. Does AI have access to platforms, social media platforms, and comment sections?
Okay.
Wait a second. Right now, if you ask your AI to give you some sort of like polling based on comments on
You have
Twitter,
the paid version of AI? I mean, I
Go to X, go to Block, and ask him about like go to Block, and I can go and say, okay, analyze Amir's Twitter feed and tell me if he's like, did he ever mention Israel, or like you can do that. Yes, you can.
No, to get that, just go to Grok, if it's a paid version, it's up to date, and say, what is the leading consensus of Americans, and we'll check the IP address by American, about the murder of the 2 Jews in D.C. Like, what's the most common comments? And it'll tell you, it'll summarize them, and it'll tell you, let's read the comments. And if you don't know that, then you probably don't know what AI does.
Oh, I do know what it does.
Alright, so they do have access, and even if they don't have access today, they will have it tomorrow. So the problem is
not. So, if you had any basic like college education, you would understand not to trust, a polling based on a comment section on a social media platform.
I understand that education would say. I understand that first of all, college education doesn't teach much of anything. You see the Columbia graduate?
Now,
Second of all, I thought that you just hated Jews and that was a blind spot. Now I just see like a lack of linear thinking. The point here is, if people are going to ChatGPT and asking it a question and they get an answer, now forget like a political answer, they get an answer that is based on what it's reading online. Now it's trained to give higher weight to different websites, but if there's a consensus and those websites could be written by other AI bots, then they're going to gather that consensus together and it will become a cumulative effect. But this has happened in human history multiple times. There are things that people have accepted as axiomatic because everyone else accepted it, so they accepted it. And it took a big people and sometimes brave people to question these thoughts. But the point is, when you have a society that is now regressing from the intellectual revolution of the Renaissance and turning back to asking a machine of what other people think or what other machines think, that is a regression, and it's worth pointing out. Now, if you're saying there's ways to stop it, that's yes, there are ways to stop it.
But wait, are you saying that this is the moment that cynics should realize that he's retarded and stupid?
So obviously, these AIs or these AI models that can like shuffle through, forget about social media platforms. At this point, you're talking about search engines and then like servers, and you're talking about the internet. You know how much information is on the internet? You
don't know what AI is. At this point. That is exactly what AI is doing. That's why there's now a fight over chips that have more processing power, because they have tremendous amounts of data. That is the entire cover.
Okay, no problem. And you would solve this simply. We currently have models that can detect an AI. If a paper is written by an AI, we know this. We can detect it. Simply, I could modify whatever algorithm I'm using to detect AIs, and I would just attach that, and there you go. Every time you have some sort of consensus given out, when you ask that AI for such a consensus, you would simply ask, hey, the data, the information you're shifting through, if it's sourced by an AI, negate it.
No, forget that.
I don't want it part of the equation.
Okay, fine.
Do you know what it's incredible. The fascinating.
You can give me an AI that can write me an essay and pretty much not be
Cynic, you keep repeating yourself about these essays. How many times are you going to tell us the same thing?
Shut the I don't know of a single AI that can mimic human speech, that can mimic a human author. So we know when an AI like voice. No, like even in the literature, even in the creation.
How do you know?
Because we literally, dude, I don't know when was the last time you were in an academic setting, but hey, we have.
It's nothing to do with academic setting.
Don't talk about it right now. If you're taking a class, yes, if you're in college, you're taking a class. Right now, every campus on every major university right now has an AI detector. When you go and submit an essay, it is going to go through an AI detector, and this AI detector is pretty much down to a
Can you know if someone on Twitter, and that's very, I don't know why I'm dancing around, if he wrote something on Twitter and someone commented to you on Twitter, you know if that is that said fuck you, or was it an AI that said fuck you? So take this fuck you and put it in any engine that you want, that will not be able to detect if it's human or not. Do it.
You would know. Who cares if you see a comment of fuck you? If it's simply fuck you then. Okay, why do we have that? We're talking about something as if
No, we're not talking about something lengthy. You choose something lengthy because it's easy for you to detect. I'm talking about comments on Twitter up to 140 characters, you cannot know if this is AI or not.
Like it was a friend.
You cannot. How can you know?
Well, yeah, it's a combination.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know why you're gonna build an AI account.
This conversation has run its course.
I cannot generate friends.
One of the reasons that the problem with AI bots on Twitter is that they're going to streamline you and get you to argue with a nothing and wait till your time as a business learn you. This conversation is a waste of time. Mikhail is either retarded or pretending to be retarded.
I shut down your whole argument by simply indicating that there are AI detectors. As for spam, we also have programs that spam.
I'm going to be very quick.
Your whole point was pretty
Shut up, Mikhail. Not only did you shut down my argument, you didn't even have a present because you didn't even understand it. What's up, my friend?
Well, I was just going to respond to
I
that.
expect you to reiterate that argument right now.
Okay, let's explain.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say is just respond to this point immediately, which is, Cynic, if you really believe that you shut down that argument, there should be at least one person in this room who agrees with you, and I don't see anybody in the chat or on
You're wearing a fucking hero mask. You're wearing a fucking costume, dude.
Once again, you have to use the argument.
This is AI.
Again, what? You're saying
It's literally created by AI.
Daniel is complaining about bot meeting machine learning, and he's like, oh no, the threat to democracy. I'm telling you, we don't want to get killing spam.
Excuse me, but have you guys heard the joke about the jihadist who wasted all the Jews' times on the internet by wasting his life on the social audio platforms? That was his way to get back at the Jews, by wasting all their time.
We already have contingencies to deal with spam and bot accounts. Yes, you do. Every time you make an account and fill out those squiggly words, that is a spam prevention.
Understand the conversation.
Did you listen to the
Steelman yourself.
You have to understand the conversation.
Steelman yourself real quick.
I'm not being back.
Yeah, exactly.
Mikhail, you know what I think he needs is a smoke detector to find out where his brain went.
No, I actually want someone to argue because that'll sharpen stuff and you have to. I'll argue with you. What do you want to argue about? That's not my point. My point is if you have a mitigating argument, if you have a question on it, that's fine. If you think that for whatever reason that this idea of bots joining the marketplace of ideas is not a problem, respond to that. But if you don't understand the argument and you're talking about detecting LLM words,
Was that what he was saying? Was that the AI is not going to pose a problem? I couldn't even. Let me just say this really quick, which is that I was listening for 10 minutes on mute, and that still wasn't enough for me to understand what Cynic's argument was. So he definitely didn't shut you down, because if somebody else has to explain your argument, then you didn't argue very well.
His argument was that if because there are indicators, which there are, that there are papers that were written by an LLM as opposed to be written by a human being, because there's still subtleties of linguistics that the LLM has not quite picked up the same way, then therefore you could set up a detector and say this was written by a bot. But that's completely irrelevant to all the other things that we were talking about, how having AI join the conversation is, I mean, I was really talking about it on threats to human development of gaining scientific knowledge. Daniel was talking about a threat to democracy. And they're both true, irrelevant of the fact that if a college student plagiarizes a term paper off of AI, at this point, there are ways to detect.
I see. Yes, obviously that is true, because even if a college student has their paper run through an AI detector, it could still pose a threat to scientific development and a threat to democracy, because it's not like every single person has an automatic AI detector that's constantly running their brain.
And like the college student or the head of the institute could search an AI and then write the paper in human language and detect both
excitedly with bated breath. Is this the moment where Cynic finally realizes that he's a retard? And unfortunately...
See, if you're so retarded and so stupid, you could never become sentient because you're that stupid and retarded.
Combo and arrogant. There are a lot, young, dumb, hateful, and arrogant.
No, because if you're young, dumb, and hateful, and you know that, then you might actually read a book. Like, that's the most, this is the problem with AI. If you know that you're ignorant, then you might actually learn it. The problem with AI is that it makes you think you know it and never question the knowledge.
The first step up from bottom is recognizing that you are blah.
And speaking of reading and AI, I want to take this opportunity to recommend Yuval Noah Harari Nexus for anyone that is interested. Yes, he's an Israeli historian, but I think it's Nexus.
Right there. And you don't have to, I don't agree with everything he writes, and the fact that he's in the World Economic Forum is irrelevant. It's a very eye-opening book, and I recommend it as well.
See, the coolest thing about X is the integration of Grok and how you can play with Grok or Doge AI or any of these AI chatbots to create incredible content, fully automated on the spot. But as the individual, that's still not even enough at scale. But if you have a huge following, I guess that's the scale. I mean, Stephen Miller, the Department of Justice, like this communication coming out of this administration and the people that work in it is game-changing, mind-blowing. I mean, it's like a new world order. I mean, I don't see this going out of style. Like, X and Doge and Elon Musk has really ripped a fucking gash into the reality warp matrix of the rest of our lives. Yeah, he's back to business. But the point is, it's not just him. It's the founder of Airbnb and like 10 other people. And they are cleaning house. I mean, all these agencies have new administrations. I know my sister works for a large agency, Fannie Mae, well, whatever. The point is, things have changed so significantly, but yet you hear Cynic and all these other people, their game doesn't change. You could tell as soon as he gets out of his wheelhouse, which is Gaza, Palestine, etc., it's like talking to a child who doesn't do anything else other than talk about fucking the Jews and Israel and Zionism.
This is the saddest thing, and this is, I mean, we should remember the Tanya. There's wisdom from the Tanya. I can't quote it exactly, but there's something like, I forget, I can't even begin to quote it, but basically, when we're talking about other people being children, we should try to have patience and compassion when doing this, because I can vividly remember being young and dumb and hateful and arrogant and judgmental. And when I was 24 and I was completely convinced that I knew everything, if I met somebody like John Kitover, I would have just been triggered basically to hell and gone. So if you are John Kitover, you've got to remember that, not everybody's ready for that type of shit.
But I think that's the biggest failing to our university. It's supposed to incite an appetite for learning and realize how little you know and how much knowledge there is out there.
Yes.
Instead, these people walk on the campus. No, the opposite. They walk on the campus and think they understand everything. They don't know the very basics.
Yes. It's like it's like, it's almost like you become open-minded at 19 or 17 or something. Your mind is opened. And then you latch onto the first radical idea that somebody feeds you, and then that's what you believe for the rest of your life. Like, I can remember being open-minded when I was 17, but then I continued to be open-minded, so my mind has changed from when I was 17. But if you just become radical when you're 17, become a Hare Krishna at 17, Haredi at 17, and then you never look back, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So a lot of people become convinced, and then, I don't know how, I would love if you guys had the patience, or maybe you've been dealing with him for longer than me, but maybe we could bring Cynic back.
But don't you eventually get back to the point that it is like a dinner for schmucks, so you might as well film it, because what you're doing is participating in a fucking dinner. And this is like a roast. It's a barbecue.
I mean, the only way that you could improve on your endeavor is if you could figure out a way to monetize. I mean, I don't think you're wasting your time. I just think it's unfortunate that your viewership is so small.
Yeah, but even if you have a large viewership, that doesn't mean you monetize. I know people that have huge followings and they can't even monetize. So that's not the point of recording it. What I'm asking is, when you participate in it, isn't everybody technically at the same dinner? But I don't know. It's your choice to sit down at the dinner or not.
No, but that's bad logic. Not everyone that has a big audience can monetize it, but everyone that monetizes it has an audience.
Isn't it funny that Maimonides sounds like my monetize?
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
But isn't it even in the root name Maimon? Isn't that like the root for money or something? Or
I don't know. May or may know.
Well, mana.
I don't know the etymology of money. Let's ask AI.
Maimon. What's the similarities between Maimon and Haman?
Well, look at the word Haman. Ha, and then man. Look at the word woe, man. See, this is the
hue, man. That's a man with a nice hue.
The hue, right?
Hue man.
Oh, look at aura. Ah and ra.
Yes, and look at tree. It's like ta and re.
Shut up, shut up.
Look at cynic. It's like cry and nick and sin. I mean, and look at his PTR. What kind of man wants to project images like that all the time? It's like, well, I'm more morally, virtually. I'm signaling better than you.
Is there any proof? Is this AI?
Good Shabbos.
Go read a book. Go read a book. So the etymology of God was the protector, and she had a temple. So she was like word and advice, and that became French and became English.
So, Cynic, can we talk about this photo? Are you guys bored if we just do classic Israel-Palestine discussion?
Take you seriously with a hero mask on.
Why? You realize this photo is AI. Are you aware? Or did you think this was actually a photo?
I literally didn't press on it, so.
You can click on the photo and enlarge it.
Well, my friend, to be fair, he sees AI images of Gaza. Thinks they're real.
Right, that's my question. Is like, I mean, first of all, is your profile?
We have AI, we have programs that can detect.
Do you have like a lag? You might have an internet lag.
Here, I don't know, maybe.
Cynic, do you have a lag on your internet possibly?
No, it's internal.
Because when I'm talking with Mir,
coming from inside the house.
I think Mir is a boomer.
What the hell is
He doesn't
Mayor?
know that we have AI detection program.
Okay, Mayor. Okay, because everybody says it different, but you told me one time. But anyway, notice how.
Don't insult me. I'm not a boomer. I'm from the second generation.
Notice how when Mayor and I
should be worried about AI literature, authorship, or image editing.
Oh, I'm not worried.
Because it can already detect it.
I'm not worried. I'm worried about leaving the road for retards like you. That's my concern.
I think that it can be detected because maybe at the moment you can detect some things, you cannot detect everything. And the thing is that those machines also learn. This is why CAPTCHA keeps on changing, because the machine also learns how to solve CAPTCHA.
So
I just don't think you know.
I've got a few questions.
This is my business, Cynic, so please touch some grass.
Okay, well, you can find me. I already told you so in the challenge again. Find me an AI that can mimic a human. That can be detected by.
I can give you a site. I can give you a site that will connect. So this site is basically doing. There's a site that you can basically it connects. There's a site basically that connects you to a one-on-one chat, okay? So you have a conversation, and at the end you need to say it was if it was.
Right, we played that game. I was gonna say that. I was gonna say Daniel played this game.
So you say it.
What was the website?
Yeah, I'll say it. I'll say it.
Caleb, can you give us a super positive Shabbos message?
Good job. So Daniel did play this game with us was one day on Clubhouse. I remember I was in the room. It was a lot of fun. And Daniel was playing 2 clips of 2 voices saying the same thing. And one of them was a real person reading, and the other one was an AI reading the voice, or reading the same sentence, and it was very hard to tell the difference. How did I do, Daniel? Did I tell the story better than you?
It wasn't a story, it's another story. I was talking about the thing, a website that basically you connect to a chat with someone, then you exchange a few sentences, you can say whatever you want to them, they would answer, and then they ask you, okay, did you speak to another person that was on the site or to an AI? And you do say, did you speak? And those AI, they can make like typos, and they can kind of make mistakes, and they can do like, even now that when you
It's
create
called
like
the Turing test, isn't it? The Turing test.
Okay, you understand, Daniel. There's no such thing. You tell me this is your field. So you understand there's no way to create randomness, right? You can't generate randomness. You know,
it's not randomness. It's not about randomness. You need to understand that a bot doesn't work on logic. It doesn't work on It doesn't work on like a logic that someone programmed. A lot of those AI tools that are created, their creators actually don't know exactly what they created, okay? Because at the end, it's
Put me in the queue, please. Put me in the queue.
Language. Do you understand AI can?
Don't you know Boolean logic? And if you can't get the essays to actually represent, automate, you can't optimize or automate randomness.
And language is the technology, and the language is the technology that we humans...
Imagine a jihadist who sacrificed his whole life to waste all these Jews' times. What a sacrifice for the cause. What a sacrifice for the cause.
I understand a human can be tricked, into thinking they're talking to a human being.
We're trying to talk about you getting tricked, cynic.
What Mayor was bringing up.
Now you're tricking us by wasting our time.
John, what Mayor was bringing up was pretty much, you have an AI that can go and pull up statistics and data based on the material and literature that's on the internet, on different servers. And first of all, you use the computation power to go shift through the internet and obtain some sort of data or some sort of poll. That would be just
something like that. Some sort of data. I don't know. I think this is called dinner for schmucks. That's my opinion.
No, it used to be state level. Now it's someone that can anyone do it their home.
Yeah, haven't you heard of Palantir? They're worth like $200 billion now.
It's a shit show. It's a technology you have access.
Zach, let's just create our own room and let these two people who just never stop talking go at it. I think a lot of people use Adderall on this app personally.
This is happening.
Anyways, so can I understand it's happening? I understand, but to say that.
Yeah, I've been trying for a long time. It's hard to not slip back into old Zach, which is...
Can I get in the queue? Can I get into the queue?
Put me in the queue, please. So, Cynic, the thing that I want to say is, first of all, are you entirely sure that the profile picture that you have for Clubhouse right now is not AI? Are you sure that it's not AI?
Yes, not AI.
It's from a video that you saw that you think is not an AI generated, because the AI can generate video.
I understand that.
Okay, let's
We
assume...
have detection software that can...
Okay, let's assume if Daniel and Mayor and John and Kuku can tolerate this, and if you guys don't want to go down this road because it's boring, then we don't have to. Why did these 2 kids die and the 30 men who were standing around them lived? Why do you think?
Again, I want you to realize this is what you're bringing up a first impression. So I don't know you at this point. I
to my life, everybody. What a waste of time this guy Cynic is. Jesus Christ.
Zach, would you like to restate your question based on the fact that Mikkel might judge you?
No, I'm fine with I'm okay with being judged. I don't really see what reveals my own character in this question. I'm just asking you, why do you think... Exactly. I could try to... Here's what I think of your Olympics, Jimmy. Let me tell you why we have to take an action. Here's what I think of you... Listen carefully. The next time you feel left out, when your friends all come out there and
I cracked myself up.
And it's possible that if you pan the camera over to the left, there are men, grown men, who are suffering in the same way as these kids. That's possible.
It's conversations like these that make me want to just be a religious person.
I think it's not necessarily, I'm not yet convinced that it's a total waste of time. Maybe that is my own naivete. But I think that a lot of people like Cynic, can I ask you, and if you don't want to answer because it's upsetting or whatever, can I ask you how old you are? I'm 37. How old are you?
I'm 30.
Oh, okay, cool. So 30 is not young. So, like, we're almost on a peer level. You know, you're not too much younger than me. I'm not, like, older and wiser than you. But I think that there are a lot of people who are 20, 30, 40, 50. You know, there are people on Clubhouse of all ages who are under the same impression that basically we see a video of these kids blown apart. We hear that a school was bombed. And the conclusion is, fuck. Israel is bombing schools. Therefore, Israel is bad. Therefore, obviously, I can deduce that Israel's intention was to harm children. Because if their goal was not to kill kids, then why are they bombing a school? And basically, most people who are, you know, anti-Israel don't take it any further than that. They don't wonder, why was a school bombed? Why were these kids not ushered to a bomb shelter? Why do the schools in Gaza not have bomb shelters in them? It's been 50 years of bombing, so why haven't they built any bomb shelters? It's been 50 years of Israel getting bombed, and now at this point, every school in Israel has a bomb shelter. When they build a new school in Israel, they build bomb shelter. When they build new buildings in Gaza. I mean, they don't even really care about the buildings, but they do build hundreds of miles of tunnels, which are bomb-proof. And so, like, why are the kids in the schools not given access to the bomb-proof shelters that currently exist in Gaza? Why are the kids not ushered into those shelters?
It's pretty dumb.
Do you think that the kids in Gaza go to school right now, honestly? When you say school, we imagine something that people go to get education, right?
Yeah, they don't go to school.
Now,
What do you
when you say, because you're using the word school, in order to
It's
basically
turned
make us
into a refugee center. That's what it is.
Okay, so it's not a school, right? It's a building that was a school. Because when you say school, you obviously mean, maybe not you, but the people that say it, basically we are supposed to think, oh my god, kids go to school, and why would even the IAF target something that kids go to school? But it's not a school, it's a school building. What's used for? Because obviously, as you said, kids don't go to school in Gaza. So you're talking about now with a refugee camp in a school?
Why don't you read the article that I posted in the chat? How about that?
If it was a refugee